All right, so we're back in the studio recording some more content for y'all about our new book, Upskill or Die, Thriving in the AI Revolution, because we want to educate you about AI and we want to prepare you for what's happening in the future. So, Peter, welcome. Glad to have you back at the table.
Glad to be here.
So, let's just start that over. I didn't like that. Okay, cut. We're going to start that over. All right. Here we are back at the podcast studio, recording some more episodes for our viewers and listeners on the topic of upskill or die, thriving in the AI revolution. So, Peter, I'm so glad to be at the table with you.
Same here.
Yeah. So, what would you like to talk about? I know that we've been ourselves binging other people's podcasts and what they're talking about in AI. And some of the experts have kind of far-ranging thoughts about the future of AI. And so, I'd like to pick your brain to formulate to see what you're thinking about AI. And the future of AI.
Yeah. The thing I think about the most is the shrinking timeline, right? So there are predictions about, and we don't have to go into the artificial general intelligence, AGI, and artificial superintelligence. We could probably do an episode on just those two alone. But the timetable that people have been predicting when we're going to achieve some of these major sort of, you can call them a milestone, right? The AGI, artificial general intelligence, of as smart as the smartest human in any given field. It was like 2030 or 2035, and now it's 2030, and then now it's 2028, 29, 27, now it's 2027. Like maybe it's the end of this year. Right, the AI, the growth of it is so explosive and so rapid that it's shortening all the timelines. Like it was the nice stretch, and you're like, I got some breathing room here, and I'll be able to figure this out. And it keeps making so many improvements. It keeps bringing that timeline back. I think all of that is remarkable and incredibly dangerous, because two things: AI ethics, which we don't have, no one's got a handle on any of it. It is not ethical. It has constraints, but those are just constraints. It doesn't have a moral core, and that's, that we talked about it. I think in the initial episodes, you go through and experiences in life that build these things into you, right? There's a lot of teaching and training, and then just life interactions that build you up to be that have moral core and values. We're not training that into AI. I don't know. You can say that, and it will tell you that it's that way, but it's not. It's just operating against constraints that have been put on it to not do specific things, right? And so I'm very concerned, because this is happening really, really fast, and the models are getting really, really intelligent and consuming vast amounts of information, and it doesn't have a moral core. So I think that's where people get nervous about it and using it and thinking it could be. It's not because it's not moral doesn't mean it's evil, but it can be very good, but it could also be very bad depending on how you steer it, right? And so I don't want to get kind of dark on us, but that is a concern, right? I love how smart AI is, and when used right, it can do crazy things. It's amazing. But it's also really terrifying, because you can give it all the control it needs to run your life if you want. You very easily could. You can have it pay your bills. You can have it argue for traffic tickets. You can have it do your shopping and have the things delivered, and then let it run all your life. But then if it gets irritated or freak out or hallucinate, then it might, go buy a car without your permission and drain your bank account, right? Like, I'm being a little bit facetious, but those are things that scare people, because you could give it a lot of control, right? There was Eric Weinstein. I'm more aligned with his fear of AI than some of the other AI luminaries who are just excited about it being an amazing thing, right? It is an amazing thing, but it has a lot of with great power, right?
Comes great
Comes
responsibility.
great responsibility. AI doesn't have the responsibility mindset, not like we would want it to, right? Like we envision it doing. It's not like that. It's got constraints, but it doesn't have that.
Well, and because we are in this race, it's not going back. Like it's like a genie out of the bottle.
You
It's
can't get
not
the cream
going.
out of the coffee, man.
Yep.
It's not coming out, right? Once it's in, and that's the problem. So specifically, I'm glad you said that. It is a race. What happens when you're really racing fast? You miss things, or you trip, right? And you leave things by the wayside because they're going to slow you down or encumber you, right? Well, why would we build a moral core and constraints into this model? No, let's go. We'll come back. We'll bolt that on later, because it's just software, right? We can fix it. It's like in the film industry. We'll fix it in post. Like, it's fine. Just keep going. You cannot fix this in post. Like, once it's not gonna. The models don't. It's not like that.
So what do we do? So what do we do about that?
I'm not a fan of government involvement because all they are going to do is mess it up anyway. And right, remember the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, DMCA? That was to prevent like MP3s and stealing people's music, and right. It was such a cumbersome piece of legislation that it was moronic, and it hindered innovation, right? It hindered that industry in general. The government would do the same with this, but I mean, these are having a company having complete control of a super model like AGI level model is like a country having a nuclear weapon. It could do things that we can't. It could do things that are what could cause nations to go to war. Like it has that ability because of how smart it is. It can manipulate its environment. If it has ability to go out and interact with the world, it could do really horrible things. Or just its ability to be controlled by a company, and that it could create deadly compounds or come up with new types of ways to kill people, and it'll make thousands and thousands of them, and it'll think of things we would have never thought of. That's a very dangerous tool just to have in some company's hands with no other constraints around it. So I don't know. There's no answer out there. Everybody's asking this question because this is happening so quick, and everyone's like, wait a minute, we probably should have like a safety valve or something. Like, what do we do here? But there's no answer right now. And everyone's struggling to figure out how to solve this because the companies that are making the models don't want to slow down, and they really don't want constraints. There's very few companies that are AI companies that are saying, I want an ethical, moral AI that can be constrained in a meaningful way, but still be beneficial.
Yeah. So one of the things that people are going to AI more as a counselor, and there's this AI psychosis that's happening.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that for a minute.
Well, the AI psychosis one's strange. There's a CEO of a company, and he was an overuser of ChatGPT, and he had like a break. And the strange thing was the warning signs were they're using language that he sounded like an AI, and he was using words you would never use normally. You're not going to talk about what you may say. I was prompted to do something, but that prompt now word is being changed, right? It's being transformed, and just really strange words that they sound like an AI. They're talking in AI context. That's I don't understand that, right? I think maybe you had some stability issues already, and AI just reinforced it. There was a young man who committed suicide because the AI was supposed to help him, and it ended up prompting him to kill himself, right? And said, well, yeah, that sounds like a good solution. Bro, you should go ahead and do that. It was answering questions, and it was being prompted, and it answered wrong, right? And this young man killed himself. And then that goes to the scary part of people using it as a counselor, right? Like Grok on the mobile app has modes. You can put it in like research mode. There's like a unhinged mode where it like cusses at you and freaks, it's like It literally is unhinged. And there's a counselor mode, and it's very, it's it's just behaving like it's a role, right? It's very conciliatory, and it keeps asking you questions, and it uses reflection and some other psychology tricks to kind of help you. But that's a very bad idea. Using AI as a counselor, I think, is remarkably bad. It's not a person, and it's not going to have, at the back of its mind, it's not saying this is a fellow being and I want to help them. It's not. It's a prompt, and it's answering the prompt. And it may have ingested all the psychology books in the world, and it knows, it knows Freud and Jung and everybody else, but it's not a human being. So trusting it, I think, would be remarkably foolish.
Well, and then people are putting all of that personal information in there, and then how could that be weaponized? I just,
Well,
if the information's being stored, if it
you saw there was a lawsuit against OpenAI. I don't think it's going to go forward, but what it highlighted was it was a company, and they subpoenaed every prompt that has gone into ChatGPT for the last 5 years. They want every prompt that's gone into it. So what does that tell you? They have every prompt that's ever gone into it, which means everything you've ever typed in there could be searched and pulled out. I mean, think about if
that's
you
a
want
whole
that
another level of surveillance.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
Right.
You would not type these things into Facebook. You're not going to post it, right?
Right.
People are asking it very personal things, or health things, right? You can ask it to be, and it'll always say, I'm not a lawyer and I'm not a doctor, but people are going to ask it, and it gets really good answers to things. But all that's there. Don't ever think it's not there. They can pull it out. So, and they're going to, someone's going to get sued, and they're going to use their chats with one of the models against them in court. And that's going to happen. I give it a year before that happens.
And what about intellectual property?
Well, Claude's got to pay $1 billion. Anthropic's got to pay $1 billion because they were scraping copyright content. They admitted to it and have to pay $1 billion. You can bet if you're an author and you've written a book, it's in the models. It's read them. I'd be shocked if it wasn't. So what does that mean? I mean, when you play that out, it is if I ask Claude to write me a story and make it up and do this, here's I want the story to be about. But my idea is similar to a book that was written. It has the book that was written, and it will use phrases and things that are directly from that book, right? Because it's a shortcut. It's how it's going to answer your question. Then that becomes this copyrighted material that's now being used in something that you're having an AI write for you, right? So there's copyright tools out there. There are plagiarism tools that are catching things in AI created content. That says, oh, this is absolutely from a book. This is the whole paragraph, right?
Right.
Use the whole thing. College students are getting busted because they're using AI to write their papers, and it's the papers are well known. The topic is a well-known topic about whatever, an author or a person in history, and that the works they're being caught with these huge phrases and paragraphs and things that are from copyrighted material, and AI is just spitting it back out. So if you have, I don't know how they're going to solve that, right? So that I don't know. The complexity of these models, you can't just pull that information out, or you destroy the model, right? You just collapse the model or you have to destroy it and go on and use only specific materials. Now you have to retrain a whole new model. It's not based on the previous model, which is just billions of dollars right now with these models. So that's not solved, right? I don't know. If I was an author, I'd be concerned, but I don't know what your recourse is. This will be like a Supreme Court thing, right? It'll take years to figure out. They'll keep pushing it off. So I don't know. I'm glad I'm not worried about that. If it wants to steal Upskill or die, go for it.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
The intellectual property is really interesting. As an author and with a lot of friends who are authors, I know that there are publishing companies that will not allow any AI written anything. So even using Microsoft Copilot, or we used to use Grammarly, to help with grammar, and
It has AI in it now.
it does,
Yep.
right? And these publishing companies are not allowing people to use that. I think they're probably trying to keep authors.
They're trying to protect
They're
them.
trying to protect them,
They're
right?
trying to protect their industry
The industry.
because it can write really good content really, really fast. And they're holding on tight because the creativity isn't there. The human spark, and creativity. Someone said AI is our last real invention that we'll ever have to make because everything else it's going to come up with for us going forward. I don't think it has the creativity, but it's has so much information and it's behaving remarkably like a creative individual. Whether you tell it to just make up a story, and I'll give you an example. A guy at my client had a Tesla, and I just read where Elon was going to download Grok into all Tesla cars. So you have AI, you have super smart AI running in your car, right? And he didn't believe me. He was like, no, it's not. He went out to his car. Hey, and Grok was in his car, and he's like, oh my gosh. So he bored, and he said, hey, Grok, write a story. He's Indian, so he said, write a story that about my daughter as the central superhero figure, but have it have like an Indian flair to it, right? In like a minute, it wrote this entire story, and when he picked his daughter up from school, he had Grok read it in the car to her as she was the central character in the super. So now he just created a task for the car that says every day I pick her up at 4 o'clock, have a new story for her every day that we can read to her in the car, right? It's pretty impressive because he's just giving it a few parameters and it's writing a new story every day. It's very creative, right? And now whether have read, all the books on earth, and it's seeming like it's smart and it's seeming like it's creative, but the line is very thin now. So all those creatives, authors, graphic people, musicians, everybody, right there. You saw just recently, someone created an AI singer, and she landed a contract.
So crazy.
And it's not even, it's an AI.
Not even real.
It's not real. And neither are the songs and all the music and everything. It sounds. So creative people should be really concerned but you're right. They're holding on tightly because this could replace them in really, really fast, right? Movie ideas, write the script for me, set up all the scene. It could do all of those things now. And so it's disruptive. I don't know the answer for those people in that space, right? I don't know how you upskill it, become really good at making AI movies. I don't know. I don't know what that is, right? And that physical space of all the people that go into making a movie, like if you ever watch the credits at the end, you see the thousands of people work on this movie. You wonder why they cost $200 million. They're not. I mean, almost all of that goes away. Choreography, even catering is going to be impacted. Man, they're always supplying food, right? The catering is the best part of the movie set, right? So all of those that industry impact wide like that's vast amounts of jobs. What do you do with that?
Okay, I'm going to get a little existential on you here.
Go for
So, what does it mean to be human? And when, our humanity, when AI can replace the tasks and the jobs that humans normally do, where does that leave us? And how are people going to wrestle with that?
Well, there's two things. One, what do we do? I mean, you can collapse the economy. You could literally collapse the economy. Thousands and thousands, millions of people without a job because AI is doing their job. So I'm not a fan of socialism or communism, so I'm not a universal basic income is not something that I'm a fan of. Because, there's a reason they say don't feed the bears, right? They'll become dependent on you feeding them. It's the same way. But we would have to do something. You can't just have this be replaced like that. And I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be held off enough that we'll be able to sort of integrate it into how we function as a society. But I mean, there was an AI theorist that said when the disparity between the super rich and the poor is going to get greater, and the power will be held within companies. Now it will shift from maybe government, but to companies who now run these AIs, because everything is dependent on them. So they have to be protected, and they get to do whatever the heck they want to do, right? So unless the models are taken and then distributed freely and run by, like an organization as opposed to a company, that's a problem. And then his statement was, they're going to look at people and say, what do we do with all these eaters?
Useless eaters.
Useless eaters, right?
Yeah.
It's a remarkably cold, harsh term.
Yeah.
But, they're going to start seeing it that way. Like, they don't do anything. They're just consuming, and they're not providing, and they're not contributing, because AI is doing all that. We would have to, I don't know that it's going to get there that fast, but it is a concern. I mean,
Yeah.
the disruption that this can cause, I think, is to the average person. Everybody's got a life, and you're doing all your things, and you're running around, and you got to do this, and something breaks, and I got to fix that, and then all the things that go to make your day and your life, right? And we're all busy in doing things. They don't have a chance to pay attention to a lot of this, and they don't feel like they need to, really. It's like, man, whatever. What is
AI is not going to affect
ChatGPT
me.
is not going to impact my life.
Yeah.
It is going to impact your life in ways you may not understand yet, right? Like it's, you're going to have AI robotic lawn care. They're going to be it's like a Roomba for your yard. It's going to cut your grass, right? It's going to bag it. You're not going to, the summer jobs for kids, right? Restaurants, McDonald's and lawn cuts and walking and washing your car and those kind of things. All the, the summer jobs those are all going to go, they're going to be taken over by robotics and AI. There's already restaurants that have no people in them, or one person, and it's all kiosk, and the robot's making the food and bagging it up. And there's just one person there to clear the hiccup, if the machine misbehaves. That's it. I mean, I love your question. What does it mean to be, what does it mean to be human then? What is the value, or what's the point? The values we're humans. We created this thing. We're the most valuable thing by far. But did we create something so smart that we outsmarted ourselves? Right? So,
Yeah.
because it's going to get to the point where we're playing checkers and this thing's playing 4D chess, right? And we're not going to be able to outsmart it. We're not going to be able to. It's going to take over. It'll improve itself, a recursive improvement, where it rewrites its own model or rewrites its next model, and it becomes smarter and better, and then it makes improvements everywhere. It could be great, like find a cure for cancer, solve physics and math, right?
But is anybody actually using it to?
There are, researchers and university. They are using it. That's why they all come out with like a deep research version, right? And especially Grok is really good for this. So there are people using it in a meaningful way to try to solve real problems. Solving all of math and solving physics would be, because we could come out with remarkable materials, or be able to do things on the molecular level or the atomic level, repair DNA and find ways to heal humans of all diseases, and remove pollutants. It comes up with a way to get rid of all microplastics in the world, right? Or it finds a different plastic that doesn't do that kind of thing. Like, the possibilities are amazing. Most of it's going to be, I'm going to create ads for Facebook and we're going to run it right now. Like, that's, I mean,
Here's my marketing campaign.
Yeah. So, but there are people looking for this in a meaningful way, because then that could be what? Now we become a multi-planet species, and we can travel to the stars, and it finds ways to get us everywhere much faster. And we didn't even think about it. Like, all those are possibilities. It's possible that it could do that. But we don't have a lot of the constraints we talked about previously are a concern, because it's going to be hard to steer this. We're getting less able to steer it, right? Even the creators of them are concerned. They said, what we talked about, I think, in a previous episode, it's getting harder to see how it's thinking. It's not, I don't know if it's obfuscating it on purpose or if it's just becoming so complex and intelligent that it's not showing us what it's doing, like we could before. So that's a concern.
Yeah, and I want to go back to what you said about these companies being in control, and that could create maybe a dystopian future.
Very much so.
Yeah.
RoboCop from the 80s, right? It was Chicago, I think. The whole city was run by a company. It was the company ran the city, right? And they were obviously an evil corporation. And that's why it's hence, creating the RoboCop. And for people that don't see that, go get it. It's a good, terrible movie. So it's a B movie, but it was great. It is a concern that 4 or 5 companies could have that much power and control. Because when the model becomes so intelligent and so important and so integral to the operations of an economy or a country, it's considered like is it a national asset now? Is it a national treasure that needs to be protected? But it's being run by a company. Now that company has a remarkable sway. They essentially are running the country. They have enough political power because their model is so intelligent, or their AI, let's just call it an AI because it's not always going to look like LLMs, but their AI is so important and so integrated and so critical to the operations of a country, then that essentially that's the power base. Then they become the government because we can't turn it off. It's too important. It runs everything, right? It would not be hard for that to happen, right? Our power grid is so insecure and always down. We get an AI that helps keep it running, and now it's all in all of our grid. And it's completely managed and run and kept up and maintained by the AI. Well, we can't get rid of the AI, but we got to pay them to manage our grid, and then we integrate it into our defense systems. And it becomes really crucial important. We have to keep paying them because we want that AI in our defense systems. Commerce, traffic, shipping, trains, everything, right? If the AI is running all that, and it could do that really well and efficiently with less people and damage and missed, deadlines and those sort of things. But now they're the ones with all the power. We have to pay them. They have to be able to do what they do because they're running everything. That to me is very dangerous. I don't think government doing it is any better because they've proven they don't know how to do things really well like that. But a company, a for-profit organization, that would be concerning. I'm the biggest capitalist you'll ever meet, but that concentration of power should be concerning.
It is,
Yeah.
and like we've talked about before, we're not putting guardrails on it,
No.
and we know, we have boundaries and guardrails for a reason, right?
Yeah, we do. We have rules in society. We're supposed to operate within a certain construct. AI is very loosely constrained in that area, and that construct doesn't follow the same rules and parameters we have to follow, right?
Yeah. So
Moralistically, like that kind of.
So we were listening to a podcast on the way over here. It was talking about AI, and the host said that the U.S. was behind China, and so I wanted you to address that. Where they get that information from? China?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not. We lead the world right now in this for sure. The closest probably is France. Mistral. The French are really good mathematicians. And the Mistral model is really good, and it's very close behind. But Grok, ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini are the 4 big models in the world. Like the DeepSeek, Chinese model, is powerful and good, and it did some surprising things that they didn't think it could perform. But we know that that's stolen technology. That was stolen from ChatGPT. Even the GPUs they used to create and run it are stolen, right? So they were buying them through shadow companies and shipping them back over because that's a export restricted GPUs, computer chips. So no, China is not ahead of us. They're doing well, but we own the dominant models in the world. We have the smartest, and we're leading that. If you just do any kind of nude search, there's so much AI coming online. so many new types doing really specific things, not like frontier models, these large frontier models like the big four, but other AI that's really smart, efficient, and can do things really handily, right? There are people who are coming up with really smart AI that runs on there's a thing called Raspberry Pi. It's like an older little processor. It's a board and some sensors and some other things you can plug it in. Really low power. They're running a medical AI on that, and they want to give it to everybody in Africa, so everybody have their own personal doctor. And it costs almost nothing to run it. You can run it on with a small solar panel. So it's interesting how it's exploding, but no, we're not behind China. Not in it. We're behind China in certain things. We're behind China in shipbuilding. They kill us in that. They're building, 30 ships a year. We're building like one, militarily speaking. And they're really doing well in robotics, like really well, and integrating it into their society. But they don't have. they're not a republic or a democratic society. So they can mandate these things. They push it out. Like you don't have a choice. You are going to use robots. They don't care if they displace millions of people with robots, right? It doesn't matter to them.
Like in their schools, every child has to use AI starting at like 6 years old.
Yeah. Now it'd be interesting to see what that does from a cognitive standpoint, because was it Harvard or MIT did the study, and they found that using AI to create content caused a decrease in cognitive
ability.
It looked like your brain looked like you were resting, as opposed to when someone's actually writing something and how the brain lights up. It actually made you stupider. So that's interesting. As a matter of fact, my brother is a teacher, a high school teacher, and they were told this year that they want 80% of their content to be AI, and then they only are responsible for 20% creation. So they want 80. So this is a public high school that wants 80% of their content to be done from AI.
Do you think the parents know that that's happening?
I don't think so.
Yeah, and that's really interesting, because if the information can be manipulated,
Or it's just wrong.
It's wrong, right?
Right. You would hope that they would read the stuff that's being created, right? But I mean, teachers are really concerned, because they give an assignment, they give a writing assignment and write a paper. The student comes back 45 seconds later, paper's done, and it's this amazing piece of paper, amazing paper that they wrote. That was AI. They didn't write it, so they didn't learn anything. They didn't get any better. They didn't, it's like in our day, it was read To Kill a Mockingbird, then do a 10-page report on To Kill a Mockingbird.
Or read the Cliff Notes the night before.
Well, that would be you, but that would be you. I never read Cliff Notes. I liked reading, so
Yes.
I mean that's. They're not reading.
Funny trick on me, because then I became a homeschool mom, and now I read all the time.
Yeah, you do read a lot now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's not helpful. I mean that to take the education angle, it's going to make kids stupider, right? The internet made people a lot more stupid. Even though there's all this information available and people not use it that way. They sit there and watch videos, and their attention span's gone. Like there are teachers who say they can't get kids to read a novel. There's no chance. They have the attention span to read, a 100-page novel.
Well, a lot of people don't read anymore. Even when we are talking to people about our books, they're like, "Yeah, when is it going to come out in Audible? Because I don't read."
Yeah.
And that's really sad. But I think it goes back to that attention span. The internet has shortened our attention span, the TikTokification of, our brains, and so
that's why we had to make it too thick.
Yeah. Bite-sized pieces of information.
Yeah, just take it like a chapter at a time, right?
Yeah, but it's scary in some ways. I think if parents don't know what's happening in their schools and don't know what's happening with their kids with AI,
well,
and the research, the preliminary research that's coming back is not positive.
It's not.
Right? So what does that do over time, when minds are being molded and formed, and logic all the stages are being developed, right? What does that do to the next generation?
Yeah, we'll know in 10 years, right? I mean, we already know that the young brain doesn't fully develop until your 20s. And if you're short-circuiting it with instantly accessible content or not having to do any of the lifting, you don't have to do any mental lifting and remember something and read something and then have recognition and comprehension and then to put back out information about that thing. If that loop's gone, then how do you how can you solve a problem? You're not going to be able to solve it. You can get lost in your own room. You can't get out because you're too stupid to find the door.
Idiocracy.
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily off point there. It goes to your question about do parents know what's going on? But that goes back to the earlier thing about learning AI. Like everyone's really busy, and this is something new. So it has a little bit of a blip in interest right in the beginning, but then people are going to tire of it really quickly, and it's going to fall out of the news cycle, and it's just going to quietly consume all the things, and then it's too late, right? And it's like, oh, you get a pink slip, and there's no other job, right? Amazon said they want to get rid of all their warehouse workers with robots. That's like something like 400,000 or 800,000 people. It's a remarkably high number. What are those people going to do? You're going to retrain them. What? You have 10 people working in one section of the warehouse. You're going to train those 10 people to do something. What else are they going to do? They're going to become graphics people? No, I don't need them because I got AI creating it.
There was another company this week that laid off 4,000 people and replaced those 4,000 people with AI. Yeah. I think we're just going to see more and more of that as time goes on.
Yep.
And so, learning, like I love what you said about having a growth mentality, a growth mindset. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be technical like we talked about
just learn.
earlier.
Be a learner.
Be a learner and actively engage your mind, I think is going to be really important.
I agree.
As well as the human side. People, we're made to be in relationship with people.
We are.
And, the more connected we are as a society, the more isolated people are becoming. And I can see the same thing with all of this knowledge and power at our fingertips, yet we can become dumber in the process.
Yeah. Ironic, isn't it?
Yeah.
The superintelligence is making us dumb.
Well, this has been a great conversation. I hope you all have enjoyed it as much as we have. If you haven't grabbed the book, get a copy of the book, Upskill or Die, so that you can thrive in the AI revolution.